Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching World Today. Now, can Trump use tariff as leverage? A big setback for President Donald Trump. A U.S. trade court has blocked most of Trump's tariffs in a sweeping ruling on Wednesday. Not only that, the court said that the president overstepped his authority by imposing across-the-board duties on imports from U.S. trading partners. Here's a report.
In a landmark ruling, the U.S. Court of International Trade has struck down President Trump's sweeping Liberation Day tariff, declaring them unconstitutional. The court ruled that Trump overstepped his authority by imposing across-the-board duties on import. The unanimous decision by the three-judge bench comes 4 months after Trump announced his trade tariff, and a little less than 2 months after he shocked the world economy with his reciprocal tariff.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike.
The court decision found that Trump's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to justify the tariffs exceeded his legal authority. It ruled that American Constitution grants the Congress exclusive power to regulate commerce. The ruling, which halts tariffs of 10% to 54% on global import, has sent shockwaves through an already volatile global economy. The American dollar rallied, Asian and Wall Street futures climbed as markets reacted to the news, signaling relief amid months of trade uncertainty. The Dow Jones Mini-June futures were up 550 points. The S&P 500 Mini was up 94 points. And the Nasdaq 100 Mini was up more than 400 points. The ruling, meanwhile, has raised questions about the future of trade deals, including a 90-day pause on higher tariff for countries which include India, China, and the European Union, which have all seen extensions in tariff deadlines. For India, the ruling is a potential lifeline. Donald Trump's proposed tariff threatened to disrupt India's $80 billion trade surplus with the US Indian exporters, particularly in textiles and pharmaceuticals, facing significant potential losses. With companies like Reliance Industries reporting 5% stock drop last month due to tariff fear.
In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them.
Importantly, the court ruling could also dilute Trump's efforts to wean Apple away from India.
We have Apple, as you know, it's coming in. And I had a little problem with Tim Cook yesterday. I said to him, Tim, you're my friend. I've treated you very good. You're coming in with $500 billion, but now I hear you're building all over India. I don't want you building in India. You can build in India if you want to take care of India, if you want to take care of India.
The ruling is a major blow to Trump's plans, though, to make American manufacturing great again. The Trump administration has already escalated the case to the U.S. Court of Appeals, and the matter may finally end up in the USA Supreme Court, something that could prolong the global economic uncertainty. Critics argue that Donald Trump's tariff risked stagflation, with rising prices and slowing growth, while supporters claim that they were essential to revive America's manufacturing. Meanwhile, talks between India and America for a bilateral trade agreement are likely to continue. For now, the court's decision has hit the pause button on a policy that promised to reshape international trade, but sparked chaos instead. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
For Trump, it is not just trouble in the tariff world. The grand partnership between the world's most powerful person and the world's most richest person has indeed come to an end. With just a day left in his 130-day mandate as a special government employee, Elon Musk has announced his time at the Department of Government Efficiency ended. DOGE was tasked with cutting down federal government budget, and Elon Musk delivered on that very promise from day one. From highlighting exorbitant expenses of USA to flagging excessive spendings, DOGE's estimated savings stand at $160 billion the last time the site was updated, that is on the 20th of April. Musk's exit comes just a day after his interview to CBS criticizing Trump's big, beautiful bill, saying he was disappointed with proposed legislation. It can either be big or beautiful, not both. Musk claimed bill that includes tax cuts and enhanced immigration enforcement is massive spending bill. He added that it will increase the federal deficit and undermines the work done by DOGE. Trump claims the bill can be reframed.
Mr. President, Elon Musk in a television interview criticized the one big, beautiful bill, saying he was disappointed it didn't cut enough, essentially, that it undercut the DOGE efforts. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the reaction's a lot of things. Number one, we have to get a lot of votes. We can't be cutting. We need to get a lot of support, and we have a lot of support. We had to get it through the House. The House was. We have no Democrats. If it's up to the Democrats, they'll take the 65% increase. If that doesn't get approved, this country is going to have a 65% increase in taxes and lots of other problems, big problems, almost bigger than that. But we'll have a 65% increase as opposed to the largest tax cut in the history of our country. We will be negotiating that bill, and I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it. That's the way they go. It's very big. It's the big, beautiful bill.
Elon Musk's departure comes 4 months after assuming the role as the head of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, that is, DOGE. The South African-born billionaire will now rededicate himself to his businesses, including the electric vehicle maker Tesla and rocket manufacturer SpaceX. Global sales of Tesla plunged nearly 13% in the first quarter of this year, posting the worst figures since 2022 as demand for the company's electric cars weakened. In addition, Tesla dealerships across the United States of America and at other locations around the world were recently hit by demonstrations stemming from anger over Musk's role in the Trump administration. Musk had earlier intimated he would step back from the role, saying he thought he had done enough. In a post on social media platform X on Wednesday, Musk thanked President Trump for the opportunity to reduce wasteful spending, but said the DOGE mission will only strengthen over time as it becomes a way of life throughout the government. U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson on Wednesday thanked Musk for his work and promised to pursue more spending cuts in the future. Now, this is an India Today exclusive, as Delhi is turning the water pressure on Pakistan by keeping the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance. It may be opening a floodgate of unintended consequences, because as India flexes on Pakistan, China might just be sharpening its own water weapon. What happens when rivers become leverage? And has India played a card that Beijing was waiting for? That's our next report.
India Today's RTI investigation has revealed that China's cooperation with India on transboundary rivers, particularly the Brahmaputra, has completely collapsed. Here is the part no one is talking about: China. The RTI's response has revealed a critical breakdown in water diplomacy with China. According to official records accessed by India Today, the MOUs between India and China for sharing Brahmaputra and Sutlej river data have expired. China hasn't shared any hydrological data since 2022. The last MOU on the Brahmaputra expired in June 2023 and on the Sutlej in November 2020. Both MOUs have not been renewed, and India hasn't received any information since. What does this mean? It means India has lost real-time access to upstream water flow data at a time when China is rapidly building massive dams on the Brahmaputra in Tibet. This is alarming. The Brahmaputra river, called Yalung Sangpo in Tibet, originates in China and supplies a massive chunk of India's water and power needs, especially in the northeast. It provides 30% of India's total freshwater supply and contributes to 44% of India's hydropower capacity. Blocking or diverting it, even marginally, could spell ecological and economic disaster for India's northeastern states. India's move to unilaterally suspend a water-sharing treaty could embolden Beijing to do the same, with far greater consequences. China is already building massive dams in Tibet. If China decides to block or divert the Brahmaputra, something it is capable of doing, it could cripple India's hydropower sector and water supply in states like Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. And Beijing could justify it by pointing to India's own move against Pakistan. India's gamble could push Pakistan even deeper into China's embrace. Already, China is financing and building some of Pakistan's biggest dam projects. These are located in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and India has opposed them for years. But now India's actions might just accelerate these projects and give China more leverage in the region. With Farhan, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
And this is an India Today exclusive file by my colleague Ashok Upadhyay. Joining me to discuss this and more is retired Lieutenant General S.L. Narasimhan. General Narasimhan, who was part of the National Security Advisory Board, has also served in the Indian Embassy in China and a China expert. General Narasimhan, thank you so much for joining me. Now, in the case of Pakistan, India is an upper riparian state. But here, when it comes to Brahmaputra, China is the upper riparian state, not sharing data with India since most probably Galwan. How worrying is it that China is not sharing this data with India?
Thank you, Geeta, for getting me on this program. As you will be aware, we had two river sharing data agreements with China. One was on Brahmaputra, the other one was on Sutlej. The Brahmaputra one was signed in 2002, and then it kept getting renewed in 2008, 13, and 18. And it was due for a renewal in 2023. That didn't happen. In between, you will find that in 2017, when we had the Dolam issue, the Chinese did not actually share the hydrological data. It started again subsequently. And post this 2020 problem that we had with China in eastern Ladakh, this probably seems to have petered off. And we have also not renewed the MOU on water data sharing, hydrological data sharing.
That's right.
And Sutlej River, actually, that MOU also was that also expired in 2020. That has also not been renewed. So you find that both these river data sharing agreements are in stress. But if you take your mind back to the agreement that we signed on 24th of October last year, one of the items that was being discussed was the river data sharing agreement arrangement. So that is something I think probably it may be in the works, and if that comes through, then it will start working. However, please also understand this agreement was signed in 2002, that is 23 years ago, when probably India did not have the means to get the data. At the moment, I think we also will have enough capability to see what is the hydrological data that is flowing through Brahmaputra River. So putting these two together,
right.
It's good to share the river data by China, definitely. But I'm sure we also have developed the capability to monitor this hydrological data over a period of time. This is how I think I will see this. However, in the bilateral relationship between India and China, this is one of the confidence building measures that was actually part of the confidence building measures. So it will be good to resume this. I'm sure things are being worked at this point in time between the governments.
Right. General Narasimhan, the fact that we have a problem at our hand on both the eastern front and the western front. Now, if we zoom out a little, with the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance and the water war between India and Pakistan, can China now come to Pakistan's rescue and use Brahmaputra as a tool to arm twist India? Is this weaponizing water?
I think these things would have been already thought of. The thing is, that when you are expecting a threat from one side, I'm sure you would have done a proper threat analysis of the whole issue of the water. On the Western side, I think you should not actually compare the Indus Water Treaty with the arrangement that we have with China on the other end. With China, we don't have a treaty.
That's
We
right.
have only an arrangement MOU to share the data. With the Indus Water Treaty, India has been actually requesting Pakistan to come for renegotiations and to review this treaty for a very long time. And Pakistan has been actually forestalling it for a very long time. That is one issue. The second issue is that with China, we don't have issue of terrorism. With Pakistan, we have. That is what the Prime Minister has been saying. Water and blood cannot be flowing together. So the issues are different. So let us not mix it up. And China, as I understand, I've been looking at it for about 25 years now. As I understand, China is not going to do things because Pakistan wants something. China will do things in its own interest. So if you look at it from that point of view, as long as we have the understanding with China on these issues, I don't think these two needs to be linked in some form. However, you can also see that China has been trying to speed up the construction of the dams in Pakistan on the northern rivers. So that kind of a thing can happen. They can help them out and bring that speeding up the process of building up the dam, etc. But I don't think we need to now look at China actually trying to use water as a weapon. It could use it at some point in time, but not at the behest of Pakistan.
Right. Right. General Narasimhan, thank you so much for joining us and explaining to our viewers what this really could mean for India. But we also have with us another very important guest, Victor Gao, who is Vice President, China and the CCG Center, as also Professor of Soochow University. But he's more well known as the interpreter of Deng Xiaoping. Thank you so much, Victor, for joining us. Now, I want to ask you this very plainly. China has stopped giving data. Was Galwan Valley clash a catalyst that led to the halt of this data sharing between the two countries?
Well, I would say China-Indian cooperation will be absolutely important for both China and India. We need to do our best to put the territorial disputes behind our two countries and try to figure out a way to better cooperate with each other for mutual benefit. Now, what Indians call Brahmaputra is what China called Yaluzangpujiang in Tibet, which is a mighty river. And I think while inside Tibet, it flows from the west to the east. When it reaches the extreme point in the east, it makes a bigger bend and eventually flows into India. I think China and India need to come up with a protocol so that water in the Brahmaputra or China's Yaluzangpujiang can be better managed. I think this becomes more important because of recent Indian government's attempt to divert water from the Indus River, try to deprive the people in Pakistan who live in the downstream of Indus River the benefit of water. So I think hopefully China and India and hopefully the three parties, China, India, and Pakistan, will be able to sit down to talk about how to better use the water in the different rivers, Brahmaputra in the east and the Indus River in the west. Now, allow me to emphasize one point. Most of the river eventually flowing into India originate in Tibet. So I think China is in a very important position, and hopefully we will be able to talk about this and find a mutually accepted solution.
So what I gather from what you're saying, with the Indus Water Treaty now kept in abeyance, will China use Brahmaputra River to come to the rescue of Pakistan?
You are raising a hypothetical question. I think China-Pakistani friendship is ironclad, and China will not allow any violation of Pakistan's legitimate interest in defending its sovereignty and territorial integrity, including peaceful use of the water in the Indus River, especially because of the treaty between India and Pakistan about the allocation of the water in the Indus River. That's number one. Number two is that between China and India, we share the same river, and China is on the upper stream, India is on the downstream, both in the western part as well as in the eastern part. I hope we will figure out a way to peacefully allocate water in these mighty rivers, rather than being subjected to the specter of having water being diverted or being denied to the people in the midstream or in the downstream. It is sufficient for me to emphasize one again. Don't do unto others what you do not want others do unto you. That's very important, especially because India is not really in the upper stream. India is, generally speaking, in the midstream of these mighty rivers. So don't try to do things to the people in the downstream because you never know what will be done to you. Be peaceful with your neighbor rather than...
Well, Victor, this sounds less like an advice and more like a threat. Is this Beijing's message to New Delhi?
Now, I think my advice is always good intentions, and I hope people in India will listen to my advice. That is, allow me to repeat for the third time, don't do unto others what you don't want others to do unto you.
Well, that's a very strong message coming from Beijing. Victor Gao, thank you so much for joining us here on the network. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of World Today. But before I go, here's news. The Global Billionaires Club has just expanded. American model, socialite and businesswoman Hailey Bieber has broken into the exclusive club. In a blockbuster beauty deal, e.l.f. Beauty has acquired Hailey Bieber's Rhodes skincare brand for $1 billion. The acquisition, blending e.l.f.'s budget-friendly cosmetics with Rhodes' viral, minimalist skincare, marks a seismic shift in the industry and propels the 28-year-old into rarefied territory. With that, it's a wrap. Goodbye and take care.